spent a lot in posit. You, as a project leader, you want to make a deposit in people's emotional bank. Okay? Both leader and management are important, but they never equally are balanced. And I'll share that with you in a moment. People are not born to be a leader. You have to learn it. You have to experience it. You have to learn through, say, potential failures as an example. But the foundational aspects of leadership centers around diagnosing something, adapting accordingly, and then effectively communicating to those around you. Now, when you look at the need for project leaders, project managers, say like yourself, there's a lot of action-related verbs to facilitate, to gain, to seek, to increase, to establish excellence, for example, to work the organization hierarchy, okay, to make sure everybody is in sync, whether it be lower contributors or sponsors, executives, stakeholders. And then you want to promote a culture that's conducive to provide trust and confidence across those that you're serving. When you look at a manager, you administer, you organize, you monitor, and you ask simple questions like, how are we? When are we? You basically want immediate day-to-day results. And hopefully, it involves producing predictable results. Conversely, when you look at you, the leader, you establish the direction, okay? And you want to inspire people to say, this is where we're going. This is why we're going. Here is the desired outcome when we get there, okay? And in that journey, you want to hopefully foster innovation. It's going to be very, very dynamic. You're going to have to leverage the right resources accordingly. So practical considerations here, team. You want to develop and motivate people to follow you, to believe in your vision, in your strategy. And a lot of times when I would start a project, you know, there's the old saying, start with the end state in mind. If you're here at T0 and the end state in mind is out in the horizon, okay, start with that vision. Share that vision so that people buy into your vision. I thought this was a great quote. Many of you remember Steve Jobs from Apple. He said management is about persuading people to do things that maybe they don't want to do, yet leadership is inspiring people to do things they never thought they could do. And that's why Apple became a very innovative type of company. When you look at a compare and contrast, I put this slide here for you, team, to show a lot of the characteristics in managing versus, say, comparing it to leadership. But the two key things that I feel jump out are on the bottom two. Where managing, you do things right. Leadership, you do the right things. Where managing, you focus on, say, the operational problem-solving day-to-day. Where leadership, it's that vision. It's that motivation and inspiration, kind of like what Steve Jobs said. So if you were to look at a pie chart, so to speak, of many of these competencies, these are some of the key ones that really help a person become a truly great leader. And a couple I want to just highlight. Number one is that setting of the direction. You are also a change agent. How can we accomplish this overall mission? For example, if you look at sending people to the moon for the first time back in the 60s, okay? The strategy and the vision was to send man to the moon and return them back safely. All right? That's setting a direction. That is profound change. But to accomplish that took many, many years, building relationship, variety of entities that have to come together to accomplish that mission. So let's talk about different types of leadership styles. And basically, when you map this in an XY plot, on the x-axis, low to high, were encouragement and the degree of encouragement. Where on the y-axis, low to high, is the individual need, say, for direction. So this is to help guide behavior, to encourage team growth and contribution. But yet, as a leader, you need to understand the individual, the situation. So let's give some examples here, team, of what that means. So if you look at, for example, the top left, tasking, this is where you, as a leader, need to provide strong direction how to perform a particular activity, a particular assignment. Maybe it's a new task that popped up. Maybe it's a new team member, or they just didn't have experience in that particular task. But the task most likely is going to be urgent. So as a leader, maybe somebody's willing, but not necessarily able to perform that assignment. That's where you need to help them, whether it be in training or direction, etc. So when you look at the top right, steering, this is guiding, as in a steering wheel, that person to do the assignment. The team member maybe has gotten some experience over a certain period of time, but they're not quite yet, say, an expert. So you need to give them some encouragement and some direction, steering. When you look at the bottom right, encouraging, and encouraging here is high, where you're giving that support to encourage them to do the assignment. Maybe they have the ability, but they're not necessarily willing to do the assignment. Maybe it's a personal situation. Maybe it's a health issue. Maybe there's some concern family-wise, whatever the case may be. So as a leader, you need to be able to understand that which has taken place, to offer encouragement, maybe some empathy, some compassion, to encourage them to do the assignment. And then last but not least, the entrusting, okay? You allow trusted individuals to perform a particular assignment. They are committed, okay? They have the interest. They can work independent. And you as a leader basically just simply need to monitor their performance to make sure the job gets done. Key different type of leadership styles. So when you look at you, the leader, setting that project direction, starting with the end state in mind, creating that vision, what the project is going to look like, okay? You may want to look at different patterns, different relationship, how they morph together as you go through that project life cycle journey. And you want to develop strategies even in, if you will, the short term, attainable goals, low-hanging fruit, for example, to motivate, to encourage confidence. Obviously, you want to identify potential risks and problem, which is part of that journey, okay? But a simple, practical consideration here, team. Revisit your vision periodically. Welcome feedback. Welcome innovative type of ideas and adjust as needed. Aligning people. Now that you created the vision, you articulated the vision, all right? You want to make sure everybody buys in, believes in the vision. Hopefully, the way you articulated that is in a simple, clear, credible, understandable manner. And reinforce that as many times as needed. And a practical consideration here, team, to make sure you get cross-functional alignment. This contributes to the formation not only of the team, but as one team, they believe in you, your vision, and strategy. Now, over time, you're going to have to continuously work on motivation, inspiration, overcoming potential obstacles, barriers, because like anything else, we are human. When change occurs, it introduces stress, tension, potential conflicts, for example. So you need to try to emphasize, try to influence that we will solve problems together. People may do things, say, for their reason, which may be different than you and the team's vision, reasoning. So practical considerations here, team. You want to make sure you at least satisfy the human basic needs. Be consistent. Be patient. Share with them what's in it for them too, that they could get that self-fulfillment in being a part of your team. So you want to create that environment. You want to support their efforts. You want to support enthusiasm. How you do that? Recognition, rewards, things to that nature. A job well done. Your mind believes what you tell it. Let's face it. If you believe something, then you're going to act and behave accordingly. The message here, team, is tell your mind positive things. Because if you believe in it, that cross-pollinates to those around you such that they believe in it too. Simple, yet very, very powerful. The mind. So, let me ask, this is a group chat question. This is one of several I want to ask you. And here's the question. In the group chat window, in just a few words, can you think of an example how to destroy motivation? Always calling out mistakes team members make, especially IO in public, maybe at a team status meeting where you embarrass somebody in front of their peers, not treating RS as everyone fairly. Excellent. Being biased, not giving credit for ideas. You may have a closed mind. You're not open for that innovation type of ideas. Excellent. Well, let me share with you, and I think all of you would passionately agree with me. Nothing will kill a great employee faster than watching you as a project leader tolerate a bad one. Think about that. That is a demotivator. That will put to sleep any innovative ideas. And I'm sure many of you have experienced that. So when you look at team motivation, inspiration, some of the things to avoid, and you listed some great ones. Having little personal contact. So, for example, when my son was in grade school, middle school, and in high school, I coached basketball, I coached football, I coached track. And I got to tell you, one of the things that we told the athletes, that if a coach doesn't have personal contact with you, be concerned, Because if they have contact with you, that means the coach believes in you. That means the coach knows that you could be better than how you're performing. Don't criticize in public. And don't make them feel unintelligent, especially like YS is saying, creating an inferiority complex by asking a question. Very good, YS. Okay, so now you as a leader, how do you effectively lead this thing called the project team? So let's take a moment and talk about that. I love this slide. This slide, in one at a glance, highlights so many important things of you as a project leader. So, for example, you are up on the podium. You are leading a beautiful symphony song. You will never see that conductor step down from the podium and pick up that cello or pick up that violin. Why? That's why those project subject matter team experts are there. People on the team. You have a cello player. You have a violin player. You got a tuba player. Whatever it is, you have different skill sets that come together to create a beautiful symphony orchestra. The other thing that's important in this slide, you are promoting, you are highlighting a subject matter expert. In this particular case, this woman could be the lead violinist, and she is playing a very important part as a portion of this symphony song. So I want you to think about, you have the baton, you are leading a cross-section representation of different skills, different backgrounds, different personalities that must come together to create beautiful music. And that beautiful music will be greatly appreciative by the stakeholders, in this case, in the audience. How will you know they appreciate it? Through their applause, hopefully through a standing ovation. I just want to share that mindset with you. So, definition of a team. According to PMI, it's a group of people with complementary skills, as I just shared with you, working independently but together as one. And teams are typically time sensitive, project oriented, and they have a high degree and a high level of trust, not only in you, the leader, but those around them. Could be a sports team, could be a software development team, could be a fire department. And when that fire department is called to put out a fire, is it a home? Is it a high-rise building? Is it a forest fire? Each of these are handled differently by a fire department, but you got to make sure everybody understands their part in trying to put out, in this case, example, a fire. Characteristics, this list could go on and on and on. But some of the highlights: relationship, trusting, respecting, being confident, communicating, resolving conflicts together. So for you, the project leader, practical consideration: communicate openly, but yet don't take it personally. Open mind. Positive aspects of a team, like anything else, the continuous improvement over time. How can you be better tomorrow than you were today? How can you be better in the next project based on the lessons learned in your current project? Using the talent, the skills, and leveraging it to the max as much as you can. A sense of belonging. I want to be here. I want to be a part of Sam's team, as an example. But yet being responsive to those that you're serving, the customer, the stakeholders. Challenges to leading a project team, especially today, where we're in this thing called globalization. Different parts maybe of an organization, especially if it's a global type of large company. Maybe different buildings, different cities, different countries. A variety of educational work experiences. Okay, working maybe with contractors, where you have early in career people. Maybe the personality of the person is an introvert rather than an extrovert. Difficult letting go of authority, maybe of sharing information. They keep it, as they say, close to the vest. And this list could go on and on and on. And the types of teams, there's basically, when you look at a project team, there's basically two types. One is the what's called the functional team, where they come from a common function, engineering, or maybe marketing. And that group within that functional team has a project amongst themselves. More often than not, it's what I call a matrix team, where you're working with a cross-section representation across many functions, maybe across many business units, maybe it spans many geographies. And then when you look at the contribution, not only of you, the project manager, but of those project team members, are they full-time, part-time, etc., etc.? And the roles and the responsibilities may vary based on the type of team that you're leading here. So one practical, simple, but yet powerful consideration to use, especially in a corporate environment, leverage the organizational chart, especially if it's a matrix type of project, and leverage the project charter. We talked a little bit about that yesterday, to make sure you're forming, if you will, the right team. And the strategy for optimizing a team, you want to make sure you have solely what is needed. Include essential team members. And depending on the size of your project, consider breaking it out into smaller sub-functional type of teams, or maybe a core team, that you'll then be the eye in the sky of managing these various core teams, where each of the sub-team could have a team lead that communicates upwards, say, to you. Something to think about. And when you look at the collation of teams, obviously it's those that are, say, in a common proximity, where you could more easily share information, bounce ideas, where you're physically closer together. All right, you could maybe interact more informally, get to know them more intimately. Okay, and it creates an alliance building type of team. So as a leader of a team like this, you want to encourage as much maybe face-to-face brainstorming sessions, things to that nature, because of the proximity of the team. But more often than not, I think you would agree, in today's world, we're in this virtualization, globalization, where you span many, many countries, where you don't have as much face-to-face time. You are using WebEx, Zoom, On24, Microsoft Teams, collaboration type of tools. So my suggestion here, now more than ever, as a project leader, communicate, communicate, communicate. Understand the different time zones. Understand based on the different work schedule. Europe is, say, 6 hours ahead, as an example, where Asia Pacific may be 12 hours ahead. The different cultures, the way of life, their beliefs. Be cognizant as a leader in those type of aspects. So why do we have virtualization to begin with? Well, maybe a person, subject matter expert on your team, is sick, got injured, cannot work for a period of time. And the next closest subject matter expert could be maybe in Europe, in India, wherever the case may be. You want the best person, regardless of where they're located. All right? And the new global workday is becoming more and more than just 8 hours. And I'm sure many of you are experiencing that as we speak. Compensating for geographic disbursement. Hold a kickoff meeting. And we talked a little bit about that yesterday. Whether it be in person, maybe at a geographic, mutual, distant type of area, for example, or have a virtual kickoff meeting where you talk about roles, responsibilities. This is the vision. This is what we're trying to do. Here are the roles, the responsibilities. And you want to hold team meetings. What makes the best cadence? Is it weekly? Is it bi-weekly? Whatever works given the project. But yet you want people, especially in a remote environment, to feel like they're part of the team. Maybe encourage informal collaboration. It's a beautiful thing. It really helps people think and share. And take time as a leader, maybe to reach out, talk to each member consistently, like somebody said, unconscious bias. I love that. Treat everybody the same. So now, let's talk about the various stages of team development, and then it'll be close to the top of the hour, and then we'll take a short break. So when you look at the various stages of forming a team, developing a team, there's 5 key stages. The forming, the storming, the norming, performing, and last but not least, adjourning. So let's talk about each of these now. Team, when you look at stage 1, forming, this is, for the most part, characterized by excitement. I'm on this new team. I anticipate being a key member of this team. But yet you may have some people that have some anxiety being on that team. They may question certain key things in a good or possible negative manner. So you, as the team leader, you want to make sure you're articulating the structure, encouraging learning, and have what I call balanced participation. You don't want one person 100% doing everything and somebody else doing nothing. You want some type of balance. But the other key thing I share with you from an observation standpoint, and I'll circle back to this in stage 5. But up front, in stage 1, as you're forming a team, I would encourage you to observe how they speak. I, versus us, or we versus the team, or it versus, say, the project. Just some terminology at where their mindset is as you are framing out this team. Now comes stage 2, and typically this is characterized by, oh boy, now they understand a little bit, they may be resistive, defensive. Maybe there's some jealousy, some tension. I wanted to do this, but Joe got it, or Sue got it. So they may clash over control. Opposing subgroups, for example, especially as I said earlier, if it's a large, complex project. Practical considerations here for storming stage: facilitate dialogue, facilitate decision making, provide support, but make sure they are focused on your vision. Why are we here? What is the desired end state, as an example? So now you're in what's called the norming stage. Hopefully by now, there's trust, there's support, we're sharing, we're cooperating more. And we're cooperating more, say, through collaboration and effective communication. So as a leader in the norming stage, practical consideration, start delegating, start encouraging, start motivating, but yet start challenging. This may be where you start recognizing jobs well done, things to that nature. So now we're what I call a well-greased machine. We are pedal to the metal. We are performing at a high level. Optimism, creativity, innovative ideas are flowing. We're now focused in that target, that goal. And hopefully we're working efficiently, effectively. Here, maybe offer some new goals, stretch goals, for example. Maybe test some assumptions that otherwise you may never have tried. As an example, stage 4, performing. Now we're at stage 5. We're adjourning. Okay? This is where you want to feel positiveness in the air. And remember, I talked about the I, the we, the it. This is a great compare and contrast what it was like in stage 1 and what it is as you're adjourning the project. A sense of accomplishment. Maybe identify some new opportunities going forward, for example. Create some reward system like that lead violinist. Maybe conduct, obviously, some lessons learned. But last but not least, celebrate. If you joined me yesterday, I talked about popping champagne or drowning your sorrow in a glass. Hopefully, you truly are popping that champagne. Okay, it's approaching the top of the hour. So team, what do you say? Let's take a short break